Hi, let's talk about the cost of living in Denver, Colorado. I've lived here a long time, but I've also been doing some research about it, and we're going to talk about it here. On this channel, we do tons of videos about what it's like to live in the Denver area. Now, that might mean the suburbs, it might mean just right downtown, but make sure that you leave me a comment below if there's a certain area that you're interested in, or just have a comment about our videos. We'd love to make you a video about what you're interested in. Also, take a moment to hit that like button, smash that out for me. I'll give you a second to do that. Also, hit the subscribe button and the notification button so you're notified of all the great videos that we're going to do about Denver, Colorado, and the surrounding areas. We've been getting tons of calls and interaction about what it's like to move here. So if you're interested in moving to Denver or any of the metro areas, make sure you reach out to me. Contact me with my phone number below or my email. However you need to get a hold of me, get a hold of me. I'm working all the time, would love to help you out. Let's get started with your biggest expense, your housing expense. Now, in the Denver metro area, our average home price is around $560,000. I know that sounds really high, and it is compared to the national average. The national average is around $368,000. Now, I want to talk a little bit about median house price because it seems a little bit more accurate to me. So the national average median home price is around $314,000. Denver is right at $460,000. So that gives you kind of a better idea because that means we're selling more homes in that $460,000 range. Now I am talking mostly the Denver proper area specifically. So a little later, I'm going to give you a map of all the different kind of surrounding suburbs and different areas and get an idea of costs and also what it's like to live in those particular areas. But for now, the other thing to take into account is that our average income is a lot higher than the national average. Now, back in when the census data was done back in 2018, we're just getting ready for the new census data. We're like 68,000, but adjusted, I've seen numbers for adjusted for time, we're right around 80, almost to 100. We'll see what that comes out to, and I'll post it below once those new census data numbers come out next month. Now that we've talked about buying a home, let's talk about renting a home if you want to rent instead. Now, rent's been kind of crazy here in the Denver metro area. Rents are pretty high. So if you're talking about a one-bedroom apartment, you're talking about $1,400 a month. And if you want to look at a two-bedroom apartment, then you're talking around $1,900 a month. So you know if you want a three-bedroom apartment, you're talking in that $2,000 range or higher. Now that we've talked about getting into your home, whether you're going to rent or buy, let's talk about utility costs. The average cost is about $124 a month. That's for water, electric, and sewer. Now, if you live in Denver proper and you live in a home, your taxes are going to cover your trash. If you live outside of Denver proper in some of the suburbs, you're going to have to pay for trash on your own, but it's not too expensive. And let's also talk a little bit about internet because everybody needs internet. When I look up the average price for internet, I get about $30, but let's be real. If you want higher speeds, and once they tack on all those fees and everything, we're probably talking more around $60 to $70. That's what my bill is. So that's just kind of the average price for utilities. So you're wanting to know how you're going to get to work or go do fun things once you live in Denver, Colorado, and how much that's going to cost you. Well, lots of people like to bike in the Denver metro area, and only 3 other cities that have more bike trails and paths than we do. And we've got lots of trails that go where they're off streets and stuff like that, but then we also have lots of bike lanes that are actually on streetways to get you to the downtown area. Let's say you have no interest in riding a bike. We also have public transportation. Now, two things about public transportation is we have a newer light rail system that goes to different suburbs. So there's one that kind of goes south and down the I-25 corridor, one that goes down Santa Fe that goes towards Highlands Ranch area, and then there's also a line that goes down or goes up to the Golden area. And then our newest is going all the way out to the airport. So you might be able to find what you need, and all those have a hub right in the central and downtown Denver at Union Station, which is a great place to visit. It's kind of a historical property. If you are interested in riding the light rail and you work for an employer, they may provide something called an Eco Pass, and it's kind of a win-win situation for employee and employer. So you can use that pass that's provided by your employer. If you have to buy the pass, a local pass will cost you about $114, and a regional pass will cost you about $200. Now, let's say riding the light rail or any other kind of buses or public transportation are not what you want to do. You can always drive your car. Now, driving your car, price of gas right now, it's just a little bit lower than it was, I say, last year this time. It's about $2.47 a gallon. I live just on the outskirts of Denver, and I know that might change from time to time. So if you happen to be watching this video later, just leave me a message below and I'll let you know what it is currently. Okay, so maybe you're commuting to work, or maybe you work from home now. Either way, you want to go out and have some fun. I love going out to eat, and I have missed it greatly, but I have been doing more of it lately. We have lots of restaurants, and I really hope that all those independent restaurants stay in business. So we're trying to support local and go out to a lot of our local restaurants and also breweries. Let's first talk about how much your average meal is going to cost you if you go out to dinner. Let's say you just go kind of to your normal kind of average restaurant. You're probably going to pay about $50 for two people to eat out. Now, let's say you're going to the grocery store buying groceries and you're going to cook a meal at home. We're right in line with the national average as far as cost for that. So let's jump back to breweries. Colorado has over 148 plus breweries in the Denver metro area. Our population is right around 734,000 people. So that is a lot of breweries for our population. And I hope that they all stay in business. I do see a lot of breweries right now that seem to be busy with lots of outdoor seating. So that's a really good thing, because I like my brewskis. So and I like all those little independent breweries. Have friends that, you know, do comedy at them and also play music at them, and hope to get back to that, watching them play music, tell jokes outside. So we love supporting those local breweries and restaurants. However, we do have a sales tax, and that sales tax really changes based on where you are in the metro area. However, if you're in Denver proper, it is kind of high. It's like an 8.3% tax rate, and that's just kind of because it layers. You got the Denver taxes, and then you got the Colorado sales taxes, and then there's a fee in there for RTD. It gets complicated, but that's what it is in the Denver proper. And also on top of that, I want to talk a little bit about income tax. So income tax here in Colorado is the same regardless of what your income is. Our income tax rate is at 4.63%, and that's what our income tax rate is. And the last thing I want to talk about is healthcare. So actually, we're ranked number 11 on a list of healthcare per state. Not exactly sure what that means, but I guess we're not as bad as some states. Now, if you're looking for kind of a plan, let's say you're self-employed, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're a real estate agent like me, and you need to pay for your own insurance, and you're looking at maybe kind of like a bronze plan, kind of the lowest plan that you can get, you're talking around $250 a month. Now that's with a quite high deductible. I think it's a $7,000 deductible, and you have to meet 50% of some of those deductibles before it kicks in. But it's complicated. Let's just put it that way. But if you want a little higher plan, you can get up to like, $400 a month. That's kind of what I pay, and I think my husband pays like $500 and some a month. We have different plans, but that's kind of your cost for healthcare, and I know it's a big cost, and I guess Colorado's not as bad as some other states. Hey, so I've talked to you about the cost of living in Denver, Colorado, and I went and looked up the top 10 most expensive cities to live in, and we're not included in them. And actually, I looked up top 20, we're not included in those either. However, I did see Boulder, Colorado on one of those lists, so keep that in mind. Now, let's talk about, I know I've talked a lot about Denver, and everybody thinks about living in downtown Denver, but there's so many other areas that you can commute to downtown Denver, or maybe you're working from home, and lots of good areas where you can go find lots of outdoor stuff to do, or maybe you just want to find that sub-city that fits your personality. There's so many different little sub-cities that we can talk about. So let's take a look at a map and talk about some of those areas and the costs. Okay, we've got a map here of Denver, and you can see Denver proper is right here, and then you can see all our surrounding kind of suburbs that are right around Denver. But if you concentrate on Denver and then the other suburbs, you can see the lighter green is less expensive than the darker green. So as you can see, Denver proper is usually more expensive than being out. That doesn't mean that there aren't some suburbs that are just as expensive. I'm going to switch to a map that is just specifically Denver, and we'll take a look at that. Okay, here's our map of Denver. And the lighter the color, the lighter the yellow, the least expensive the area is to live in Denver. So I'm going to go over the top most expensive places and also the most popular places to live in Denver. Number 1 on the list is Cherry Creek. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see a little better. Cherry Creek is going to be right in this area over in here. Cherry Creek is a kind of a little own sub-city of Denver. They have their own little downtown. They have some high rises, although they have a limit on how high those can go, and it's also close to the Cherry Creek Mall. They have lots of little boutique areas, and there's some office buildings down there too where people work. The number 2 on the list is University. So if I go down here, that's over by DU, Denver University. We've got a couple of really cool neighborhoods in there one called Observatory Park. It's around a park. There's lots of old homes that are historical in nature and really beautiful that sit around that park. And then you've also got some high rises there and older homes that are used for people that are going to the school at DU. The next on the list, which is one of our really popular neighborhoods in Denver, is Wash Park. It's close to I-25, close to central downtown. Not close enough to walk, but still pretty close. It's got its own park as well, Wash Park. It's got a lake that everybody loves to run around or walk around. And a lot of those houses over there are older homes. A lot of them have been scraped. They're older bungalows or they've been pop tops. They're fairly close together. I have a family member that lives over there. I think she's about one of the only houses that hasn't pop top or scraped. So you see lots of different homes over there. Number 4 on the list of most expensive is Stapleton area. That's over where our airport used to be before it moved way out up here. So Stapleton area was redeveloped. So they took down that airport and they redeveloped Stapleton. And what they did was they created kind of its own little city center. And they have a central park, kind of like Wash Park. And people like that because they're newer houses that are built to look older, and they have certain sections of the community that are single family homes, condos, townhomes, different areas, and then they have, again, that city center and then a little downtown area as well. So that's number 4 on the list. Number 5 most expensive area is Auraria. That's up here. We're getting close to downtown. You can see these grids on the streets they switch when you get up here to Lodo, which I'll talk about in a second. And it gets confusing to people that aren't down here because you're going one way and then all of a sudden you think you're going west and you're not. But anyway, Auraria is where Metro is, Metro State College, or Metro State University now. And also CU Denver is down here. The Pepsi Center where the Avalanche play is down there. And then the next most expensive, number 6 on the list, is Lodo. So that's up in this area. That's where a lot of our restaurants and bars are. Lodo is lower downtown. A lot of lofts and places like that. No single family homes in that area. I'm gonna skip down to one other area, and then we'll go to suburbs because I don't want to go over every single neighborhood. But if there's a specific neighborhood you'd like to know about, I'll be happy to go into it. But one area that's been really popular is the Highlands area over in this area, just on the other side of I-25. I consider it North Denver because I've lived here a long time. My mom grew up in that area. And again, it's a lot of older homes, but then also some homes that have been scraped and some condos built and townhomes built as well. But it's a very popular part of town. They also built a bridge that goes over I-25 that gets you to the main downtown part if you live on this side of I-25. So that makes your commute downtown easier if you're riding a bike or something like that, or walking. Some of these areas that are considered Denver, like this down here, Bomar and Grant Ranch, this area over here is considered Denver. I kind of consider it Littleton because it's just right on that edge of Littleton and what I consider Littleton. So as far as expense goes for the suburbs, Aurora is going to be one of the least expensive areas. Of course, it depends on what part of Aurora you're in, but Aurora is pretty big. The other thing that I seem to notice is as you go further north, things tend to be cheaper. So Commerce City, Thornton, North Glen, Westminster, Arvada, they're a little bit less expensive, but it really depends on what part of each city you're in. And as far as when you get closer here, you're in Westminster, Thornton. As you get closer to Boulder, it's going to be more expensive because Boulder is pretty expensive. So if you're wanting to live close to Boulder but can't afford Boulder, you can consider Louisville, Lafayette, Superior, Broomfield. A lot of those areas are more affordable if you want to be close to Boulder. Now, let's talk a little bit about the south part of town. So one really big area that's very popular families is Highlands Ranch, which is down here, and it follows around this C470. Most of Highlands Ranch is kind of on this other side, and it's a planned community that has lots of trails, rec centers. Even if you live there, your HOA covers all the rec centers that are within Highlands Ranch. And then the other thing that's really popular about some of the suburbs is that lots of them have little downtown areas. Even Highlands Ranch has a little town center area that has some of your main stores and things like that. Littleton has a little downtown. So does Inglewood. Lakewood has something called Belmar, which is their version of downtown. One area that's really popular in Arvada is Old Town Arvada, and the reason it's called Old Town, the light rail does go right up there, and then it has some history to it and some older homes that are up in that area, and they're closer, to get right downtown because they're right off of I-70. Westminster is working on creating its own little downtown area, and it's right as you come off the highway off of I-25. So those are just some areas, little popular areas that have their own little downtowns. And if you guys ever want to know anything specific about any of these surrounding suburbs, I'll probably do some other videos going over those. But if there's a specific suburb where you'd like me to start or area where you'd like me to start, I'd be happy to do that. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you've been to Denver, make a comment below. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I'd love to hear from you. I'll be monitoring comments and always get back to you. Thanks so much for watching this video and have an awesome day.